Hello, my beautiful friends. I'm your host, Leah Rolling.
And I'm Cari Kenzie. Welcome to Shift Happens. Discover the leader within. This podcast is designed to disrupt the way you live, lead, and love. At Shift, we challenge traditional narratives and believe that inner wisdom is the key to every decision.
Are you ready to explore a new paradigm of both living and leading? We'll dive deep into our innate strengths as women: compassion, curiosity, intuition, grace, vulnerability, and love. The shift, it's about to get real. Rediscover the power within and transform your life. Stay tuned. It all starts now. Hello, my beautiful friends. How are you? Happy New Year. We are your hosts, Leah Rolling and Cari Kenzie, and we're super excited to kick off 2025 with you. As you know, I love a new Monday. I love a new week. I love a new month. I love a new quarter. I love a new year. So I love that we get to bring in this year. I love a fresh start. I love a blank slate, another incredible opportunity to step into the person that you've always wanted to be. But today, we want to talk to you about something a little bit more bold, something a little bit more life-changing, something that might just save your life this year. Save your life? Yes. Because here's the thing. Saving your life isn't about emergencies or heroics. It's about deciding. It's about deciding right now that you matter, that your dreams matter. It's about inviting you to take your life seriously, to own the fact that this is the one life. This is the 1 year. This is not a rehearsal. This is it. You are living it this day. And life has these moments. And as I was on my trip with my family in Aruba, I realized that these moments, they're these little deaths, right? And I'm not trying to get, morgue on you, but maybe it's the end of a job. Maybe it's the end of a relationship. Maybe it's a dream that didn't pan out. Maybe it's the end of a kiddo's senior year. Maybe it's the end of their high school year. Maybe it's the end of a season. And while these moments can feel super heavy, they're also a gift. It's a reminder that life is really precious and it's fleeting and oh, so worthy of everything you've got. So we are diving in today to talk about these moments that motivate you and how to bring in a different level of consciousness into whatever your dreams and whatever goals you have for your year, so that next year at this time, you can be so proud of a life that you didn't take for granted, so proud of a life that you actually allowed to matter. So that is what we are going to bring forward today in this conversation. Welcome, Cari.
Hi, love. Good to see you. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Yeah.
So tell us, friends, when we think about this year and when we think about the level of commitment that we're asking our listeners to own, and the responsibility that this life allows them to step into, what comes to mind for you?
Oh, wow. It's like I'm sitting here thinking, which direction does she want me to take this today? Because let me tell you, it has been just a very interesting beginning to 2025. And I think a very interesting beginning to 2025 for a lot of people. I traveled to Kauai for a board meeting and retreat, strategic planning meeting. We're looking at, what does this look like, this organization look like over the course of the next 5 years? And a lot of decisions, lots of ideas, lots of thoughts, right, around what it is that we desire this organization to be, to step into. And it is a reimagining, always, right? There's always an element of reimagining. But the two things that really come to mind are, I challenged the group with a question, because when we sit and we start thinking about what do we want life to be, right? We will start thinking in action and not so much in results. We will start having conversations around the things that we need to do, and I need to shift this, and I need to do this, and I need to go to the gym, and I need, right? And we get caught in, when we start looking at that action, we get caught in the past, because we're looking at the way things have been and what we think we feel like we need to do in order to move forward. We're not necessarily looking at results. And so I caused a pause, as you know, I do many times in meetings. I was like, excuse me. And they've been going back and forth about this. And I just looked at them and I said, what are we trying to save here? What are we trying to save? I mean, we've had conversations around all of these things and what it has been and how it's going to affect this person, or what this individual is going to think about it. Are they going to feel like they belong? Are they going to feel like they're included? Right. But what is it that we're actually truly trying to save? So that's the first question that comes to mind, I think, when we start navigating around these conversations, right? But then I want to pull another question in, because this one caused me to stop. And I was like, oh, now that's a dang good question, right? So I'm sitting at breakfast, and a friend of mine, we're just sitting, we're chatting, and she goes, gosh, do you remember the speaker at the conference a few years ago? She goes, she had said this, and it has stuck with me ever since. And so between these two questions, it's like, could we pick one and really start to like meditate and think around it? So one, what are you trying to save?
Mm-hmm.
And I want to bring just a little context around that question based on some stuff that's happening in the world right now. But two, what are you willing to sacrifice to have the life you pretend you want? You let that sink in just a little bit. It's not, what are you willing to sacrifice to have the life you want? What are you willing to sacrifice to have the life you pretend you want? Because when we pretend around the things that we desire, when we pretend and we start pulling in what they're going to think, what she's going to think, how it's going to affect them, are they going to feel included? Are they going to feel like they belong? What are we going to have to blow up in order to recreate? And are we going to lose everything? What are we truly sacrificing in those moments to have the thing that we pretend we want? So I go to, because I've been watching this very closely over the course of the past, I think it's been like 16 hours right now, is you go to this, what are you trying to save? At the end of the day, what are you trying to save? I have watched the fires that are happening in LA right now, in Malibu and the Palisades. And these individuals, I'm watching videos of individuals in their homes with their cell phones, taking pictures of flames like an inferno immediately outside their doors, because they're refusing to leave where they currently are in order to bring themselves to safety. And when we refuse to leave the place that we currently are, and again, we sometimes have to go to extremes to make a point, Leah, right?
Yeah.
But when we refuse to leave the place that we are in order to save ourselves, we end up creating collateral damage along the way.
Mm-hmm.
Because these individuals who are refusing to leave their homes are putting the firefighters in danger. They're putting their neighbors in danger, because their neighbors then concerned about them, want to come and want to help and want to save them, right? And then there was a whole situation. So there's a particular mountain where my friend had lived, which is why we're watching this so closely. There is one road in and there's one road out. And people were scrambling to leave at the last minute. And as they got down to the bottom of the mountain, the flames were chasing them. So they abandoned their cars. They got out of the cars and they started running. And it kept everybody behind them trapped.
Oh my God.
And it kept all the firefighters from being able to come to do what they needed to do. So I look at this and I feel like this was just very, yes, it's heavy, Yes, it's deep, but when you said, Leah, question that's going to save your life, you're not joking. And
Yeah.
I know I'm talking about fires, but it is a metaphor for life.
Yeah.
How often are we caught in a position where you're literally looking at the landscape of your life and there are fires burning around you? Your intuition is screaming at you to leave and you refuse because of what you're willing to sacrifice within you in order to have the life you pretend you want.
I mean, other than goosebumps everywhere, I mean, I think could we just cut this one short? I mean, honestly, I mean, the metaphor is brilliant. And I really hope our listeners understand that how we're living in this psychological safety of day in, day out, rinse, repeat, day in, day out, rinse, repeat. I would challenge you to consider that is not any less magnificent than the people that you were just talking to.
No.
Because the world, the universe, God, whatever you believe in, has invited you to this life, this one, the one that is holding your dreams, that's holding the very best of you, that's holding that potential that you refuse to see because you are videotaping your house burning.
Because our focus is so caught in the wrong place. Our focus is so on the tangible aspect of life, right? On the things that we feel like we've got to pack in the car, on the things that we refuse to let go of, to release, that quite honestly looked great on you yesterday, but they don't look great on you anymore.
No.
Right? You just refuse to let go. And when we have our focus so on those tangibles, right? We don't have the opportunity to listen to the intuition.
Yeah.
That is calling forward. So my good friend who is so impacted by this, which is why we've been watching this for the past 12, 14 hours, whenever this started. Actually, it was yesterday morning. So it's been about 24 hours now that this has started. She goes, as I was like, oh my God, I'm so grateful you're not in that area anymore. And she said, I've learned to listen to my intuition. Two things. She said, one, first time the fires came through, we were going to be evacuated. And I started packing up the back of my car and I grabbed my safe and it had kids, pictures, memories, the things you have to have with you. Grabbed my cat and I packed some clothes. And I went back in the house because I was like, I have more room. What else could I put in the car? And I walked back in my house and I was like, nothing. There's nothing else here that I can't replace. I can't live with that. She goes, it was a defining moment for me, a defining moment. And then the second thing was she listens to her intuition. So she woke up in September of 23, right? September of 23. And she was like, I got to move out of LA. I got to put the house for sale. I got to go. And she's right in the line of fire. Her house is like, so these are those moments of when we release that having to hold on to the things that we believe define us, having to hold on to the things that we believe are the value of who we are, we get to see things more clearly. And that intuition can rise up within, that wisdom that we talk about all the time can rise up within, and you listen and you can release and you can let go. And when it says it's time to go, you don't have an attachment of definement. You don't have an attachment of identity. You have an understanding of self. And you can release and love and be like, I know something else out there for me.
Yeah. So for our listeners, basically what Cari is beautifully articulating is there is a gap between where you are, the pretend version of your life that you need to like have a stronghold on,
Mhm.
and the freedom on the other side. And
Mhm.
in that freedom, the way to get there is this calming and quieting of the mind so that you can tap into the intuition of the heart, the soul, whatever you want to call it. So in that, how how would you encourage someone that knows that they're the ones, right? Maybe they're not in fire in
Mhm.
California,
Mhm.
but they just know they cannot possibly have another year
Mhm.
like the last year. That they know that there has to be another level of ambition for them, that there has to be another level of discipline for themselves. There has to be another level of competency. There has to be another level of becoming,
Mhm.
right? So that they can step into the potential that they know here.
Mhm.
They don't give it much airtime,
Mhm.
but they know that there's more for them. And
Mhm.
that's why they feel unsettled.
Mhm.
What what is the path to that intuition? What is the path to get them out of stuck in the fire?
Okay, so the first thing that I would ask, because this is immediately what came up when you were like, when they say they're not going to have another year, how long have you been saying that?
Yeah.
How long have you been saying that? How long have you been saying I'm done? How long have you been saying it has to change? How long have you been saying this year's going to be the year? This year's going to be different. The thing that sits in the gap is decision. It's an action. It's a moment. It's a step. But we refuse to take those steps because we feel like the sacrifice that we're going to have to make in that is greater than the sacrifice that we're already making.
Mhm.
So if you continue to ask yourself or to tell yourself, this year is going to be different, and you don't make a different decision, the only thing you're sacrificing, my friend, to have the life that you continue to pretend that you want is yourself.
Mhm.
And the more you sacrifice yourself, the more that intuition quiets down.
Mhm.
So it's like, I got nothing to say to you. Dude,
Right.
I've been
You don't
telling you for
listen
4
anyway.
freaking years. Like, come on. I've been telling you. And
Mhm.
if you're not going to pay attention, if you're not going to decide that it's time to move on, then you know what? Peace out, man.
Mhm.
It's the one decision, the one. And it doesn't have to be, I'm selling my house today. It doesn't have to be, I'm quitting my job today. It has to be, I'm going to look up that area of the country. I'm going to look into what does it mean to have that position? What do I need to understand or know in order to be able to shift? It's in making a tiny decision, because when you make those tiny decisions, the universe is going to validate you back.
Mhm.
The universe will give you a little sign and you're going to be like, I can't believe that just happened. Oh my gosh. It's like I thought maybe I needed to, and then all of a sudden all these things just started to show up. You need that validation. We all, as humans, because of all of the crap that we've lived through in our lifetimes, we all need those little moments of validation because that's the thing that keeps us going. It just is. That's
Mhm.
the thing that allows us to continue to listen to the intuition.
Mhm.
It's acknowledging it and stepping into it just a tiny bit, just a tiny bit. And then when the validation comes back, you're going to be like, oh, that pool's not as damn cold as I thought it was. I put a toe in, I can put my foot in, right?
Mhm.
And you put your foot in, you're like, oh, and the universe keeps getting feedback, keeps giving feedback, keeps getting validation, which makes it just a little bit more comfortable
Mhm.
for you to follow those decisions. What would you say?
I would say to that end is the more validation we get by making those decisions,
Yeah.
the more that we can begin to believe that it's possible.
Yes.
That what we want is possible. And it's that idea of expectancy and
Mm-hmm.
to expect that if there is a nudge in you, if there's a dream in you, you should not only distrust it, you should expect that it will play out in your favor. And too many times we lose hope and we lose faith because we doubt,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And And what we need to embrace is that doubt and faith go hand in hand,
Mhm.
right? By definition, faith is believing something that you have no business believing in,
Mhm.
right? And so can you allow the doubt to be there and still believe with massive levels of conviction that
Mhm.
whatever it is that you want, whatever it is that you're dreaming about, if we were to tell you that it's done,
Mhm.
it's as good as done, how might that look different than years past? Because to your point, how many years have you been saying it needs to be a different year, it needs to be a different year, it needs to be a different year? And you have zero proof that it can be.
Mhm.
And the only reason why you have zero proof that it can be is because you don't believe in anything different than your past. You're using your past as proof, and your past holds no value.
Mhm.
We're inviting you to consider that the future has all sorts of proof. And
Mhm.
Cari and I are going to be the first ones to tell you that whatever your dreams are, they're as good as done. Done.
Mhm.
Now, whether or not you want to borrow our belief in order to achieve that is completely up to you. But without that belief, you're just going to be borrowing proof from the past that's going to keep you stuck in the same year.
Mhm.
That's what I would say to that.
Mhm. Yeah. You know, it's interesting. I've had this conversation with my oldest. And I actually made mention of this to him. I don't know. I don't know, I think you get to a particular age in life and you can start to see, you get more clarity. You've got a little bit different perspective around how life operates, around how things just tend to come back around. Right. And so we've been having a conversation on what he's doing in college right now, the degree he's going after, and what he would like to be doing in college. And I'm like, okay. And I said, if money wasn't an issue, would you change directions? And he said, yes. Okay. All right. Well, I just want you to think about that. Like, I'm not telling you have to make a different decision, right? I want you to think about that. Because here's what I know. Those little dreams, those nudges, those desires, that passion that you have, that was in you when you were 20 and you set aside,
Mhm.
it's coming back around, honey.
Mhm.
And I told him that. I go, whether you decide to pursue it now and save yourself a whole lot of time and money and suffering and sacrificing and taking that path, okay? Because when we have a path, you come into this world, as people will say, you come into this world with a path and a purpose. You just do. You can't deny it. Okay. You can say you have no belief whatsoever. I have no spiritual, I don't believe in God. I don't believe. Okay. Do you believe in possibility?
Mm.
Everybody believes in possibility. Everybody does. So you believe in something. You believe that
Mhm.
something's possible. You believe there's potential somewhere. Okay.
Mhm.
So we come in with some form of purpose in our life. And then we get to decide which way we're going to go. Am
Mhm.
I going to take the path that leads me all the way around and through the woods and up and over and like through caves and like fire going everywhere? And then there's some tornadoes and the rug gets pulled out from underneath you. And then I end up back on path. Or am I going to take the path that's a little bit smoother, right? And it's a little bit more direct. We all get that choice. We all
Mhm.
get that choice. So if that little dream, that little thing is sitting in you, and this is what I told him, like, you can either do it now, or you will end up at some point doing it down the road,
Mhm.
or you will live a life in regret. You get to the end of your life and go, I wish I would have. I wish I would have. So that's what I say to that. Like, you have a choice.
Mhm.
It's coming back around, love.
Yeah.
Like, you can't get out of it. You just can't. What's meant to be yours is going to be yours.
Mhm.
So you can either step into it when the intuition comes forward and says, girlfriend, it's time.
Mhm.
Like, there's a complete opportunity and open door over here. You can take it, right? Or you can shut it down and stay on the path of sacrifice. But
Mhm.
no, it's coming back around. It just doesn't, it's not as gentle the second time, the third time, the fourth time.
It's so good. And so if we're coming full circle back to the gap of where you are, where you are currently
Mhm.
and where you want to go,
Mhm.
and you have proclaimed, regardless of how many years you've proclaimed that this year is going to be different.
Mhm.
I think what we're trying to invite you to consider is the only way that it's going to be any different is if you decide differently.
Mhm.
If you believe that there is something different for you. And I really want you to hear me and hear us say this as opposed to be like, yeah, I believe. Because I want to challenge you on that. I truly believe that if you believed that whatever it is that you want in your life, whatever dream, whatever nudge, whatever, if you truly believed that it was possible for you, you would have it already, or you would be working towards it.
Mhm.
And although it's not always easy, most of the time it's not, right? You would be working towards it, believing in the possibility of it. So I really want you to consider, how much belief do you have in your dream? How much? Not from outside, but from inside. How much time have you spent imagining it, visualizing it, sensing it, feeling the enthusiasm and the joy and the excitement around it? Because that is the way to it.
Mhm.
We think that we're going to get what we want and then feel that way. But that is not true. You have to feel the way that you think you want to feel once you have it first. Because once you feel that way, once you feel the gratitude and the appreciation and the love and the enthusiasm and the excitement, or whatever feeling you think you're going to feel after you have it, once you feel that way first, the universe is going to return in kind. And they're going to be like, oh, I see her. I see her appreciating this gift. I see her appreciating this life. I see her in gratitude of it. She likes it. She likes this path. I'm going to keep her on the path. I'm going to give her more of what she appreciates. And the reverse is also true. If you're in frustration and annoyance and bothersome about a goal or a result that you haven't had yet, the universe will return in kind that energy.
Mhm.
And the abundant, prosperous energy is most likely the energy that you want to feel regardless of the goal. Regardless of the goal. So that would be the invitation that I would invite people to consider.
Yeah, I love that. What I would say, the only other thing that I would add is I would just take it back for full circle to the very beginning. And I would ask that over the course of this next week, before we meet again, before we continue our beautiful conversations, is that you ask yourself one of the two questions. What are you trying to save? And what are you willing to sacrifice to have the life you pretend you want? See what lies underneath those questions. And that, my friends, will start to open you to an understanding, a deeper revelation of who you are. And it will help you to step into the beauty of what it is that you have to offer and what it is that you desire and can and will be over the course of this next year. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us. And we just hope you have the most amazing week.
I will add to that by saying that if you want support in any of this, navigating these questions, doing the work this year, trusting that intuition, beginning to understand the process of understanding and listening to what it is, we invite you to be part of our community. We invite you to be part of all of the amazing things that we're looking to do this year. And we would love to do them even more intimately with you than we get to do here on these conversations, although beautiful. So have a great one. We'll see you next week.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. You have been listening to Shift Happens. Discover the Leader Within with Leah Rolling and Cari Kenzie, where we help you reconnect with your inner leader. Learn to trust your instincts and live with authenticity and confidence.
Tune in every Friday at 11 a.m. Central Time to Shift Happens on Transformation Talk Radio for more insights, inspiration, and actionable strategies to live and lead, not only in purpose, but on purpose. It is time to embrace a life and leadership style that is true to you. For more information, visit shift.life.